with the son. I'm doing a thing with them, so all good, all good.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Crime Theory with myself, Ron Swanson, and the one and only Jon Wedger. Sadly, a little bit late this evening, so I do apologize to everybody who has been waiting. Worth the wait, but please make sure you like, subscribe, help us share all this out. Jon's links are in the description, and of course, come and subscribe to me on Project Rook. Jon, how are you? Tell us all about your week. Spit it out for us. What's been happening?
Well, as like I've been saying on this show over the last couple of years, that whenever you look into the topic of the CP stuff, you'll never prove wrong. When you speak about the SRA stuff, you get attacked. But
we're less than a minute in, Jon. We're less than a minute in. Talk about something way more algorithmically friendly, and then circle back to that stuff.
Yeah. Well, what's happened is, sort of coming to it. The stuff, the topic I talk about, and how the whole sort of process of it and how endemic it is. Well, it's now become topical again. It never goes away, right? So the government are now saying, we got to deal with this, we got to look into this, and a couple of the big national papers have said, well, there is this guy called Jon Wedger who's been talking about this for quite a while. He keeps cropping up on social media. Because the national press have never really made a big thing of me. Anyway, so the main crime editor for probably one of the biggest papers in the country saw some of my stuff and was like, I need to talk to this guy. So earlier on in the week, I spent the day with him, and he was absolutely blown away. And he went, why has this never got out, what you've been saying? I said, because I don't know. The media, and the reason being this, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't go on about a certain ethnic group with the GG gang.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who say that all of this child exploitation stuff, GG gangs, is all down to this one group. And that's not the case. And I've stood by it. But because it's not got that mass populist appeal, and the media don't want to, they want to pigeonhole it. And I'm not denying the existence of these PGG gang, right? No, I'm not denying it at all, right? I have to be careful what I say, because
you're basically what you're saying, Jon, and you always have said, is it's a very small piece of a massive problem, right?
Yeah, those doing it are as diverse as those using it, those covering it up, and those exploited by it. So, and it's historic. It's been going on for so long. Anyway, one national paper really sort of got interested in it, and then another national paper, even bigger than them, turned around and said, well, we've known Jon for a while, we should be doing it. So they jumped on, and they've been sort of, two papers have been sort of trying to get hold of me, and the guy who sort of organises the media stuff for me approached me and said, look, there's a current affairs program on national media TV. Want you to attend, so I could be on national TV next week or something as well.
That's our boy.
So it's gone absolutely crazy. Because what I've said is what has been happening, and in addition, I've been seeing our work retweeted on so many different other social media outlets. It's coming up all the time, you know, pinging up. Please listen to what this guy's saying, and of course it's me and you.
It is indeed. It is indeed. It's exciting stuff, and you know, it's great to see you doing so well, Jon, and especially when, I'll be honest, we've been very self-indulgent this series of Crime Theory. We've spoken quite a lot about what we've got, what we've been doing. We've had some really good sort of stories with Jon Wedger evenings, but I mean, the first series we done really deep dived into so much, and it's exciting to see people starting to take notice of it all. The next couple of weeks, we'll see what happens with the Epstein stuff and what's trending, but I'm going to showcase some of the old cases that I've done, show Jon a little bit of the dark web, and see just how much fun that can be. Now, for the first time in a long time, I've actually got a working PC, which might not sound like a big deal, but it's a pretty big deal, because running the things off a laptop's been I mean, it's a good laptop, but now we're back at least on a PC. So there may be something going on after the Wedger stream tonight. You can stand by for further updates. Now, I am going to open up the Discord call-in, and I'll post a link to the server. If you'd like to come and pitch a question to myself or to John, you join the server, join the waiting area, and we'll pull you into the live show section. And we would very much like to hear from you guys. So I'm going to get in there now, and I'll get you guys a link. And hopefully this works. There we go. Now, John has disappeared. So, I'm assuming John will return in just a moment or two. Let me just move Discord. It's weird only having... hang on a second. It's... I did discover that I'd broken all my other monitors, so I'm on a single monitor, so you have to just bear with me. Oh.
Sorry about that. There's just internal issues I've got to deal with here. So
that's all right, brother.
Yeah, but if we go on about the what's happened with the Epstein thing, and it goes back to what happened on this show when I turned around and I said they will do with this Epstein list, P. Diddy, exactly what they've done with the independent inquiry in this country. We always look to America, right? I said this last week as this macrocosm and we're in a microcosm. My word, we are leaps and bounds ahead of them. They're just sensational and they're bigger, but they're cruder than us, right? Because what did theirs involve? Business and whatever. Ours, with Dolphin Square, with Elm Guesthouse, it involved the heart of our establishment and potentially our royal family, right? And there's pop stars and all that. So it's always a big thing, but we've had it. And if we go by the algorithm of what they do exactly the same as what they did in this country. They'll take ownership, whether it be the police or a national inquiry. With them, it's their FBI, which is all it is a national police force. It's nothing bigger and better than anything else. It's just a national jurisdiction all-round police force, whereas locally there'll be local police forces with local jurisdiction, right? So when it crosses borders, it becomes national, therefore it becomes federal, and it's the same as our national crime squads and all that. It is no different. Our government did exactly the same. They took ownership of it, said we're going to get to the heart of it, and they did F all. And it's exactly with this. Because it involved people in the establishment, they will do F all. And it's similar to the operation I was on in the Met Police. Because it involved people high up, I was told it'll be an embarrassment to the service, past, present, and future. Nothing will happen. It will be covered over.
Okay, so what you're talking about there, right? And just sort of correct me if I'm wrong. We're talking about the kept secret that everyone knows about, right? This high up elite level syndicate of individuals who are preparing children, right? And it seems to me that as long as they keep that part out of the media, right? As long as we keep those charges swept under the carpet, like in the Diddy case, right? Everything that possibly could have related to organization or a PDF ring and individuals of, politicians and above, those charges seem to get eradicated so that there's no further question on it. And when we look at the Epstein case, look what's gone on, right? We've had the poster child for the Epstein case and the man formerly known as Prince, Virginia Giuffre, unalived in some crazy conspiracy of self-unaliving, who now, she can no longer testify against other or talk more about who would have been on that client list because she's not here anymore.
But why should it be any different? Why should it be any different to what we've had in the United Kingdom? You know, we've had it all the time with survivors that have come to bizarre. In the case I was in, the two main witnesses, the same thing happened to them, both found dead.
Well, John, you got to remember, this is America, right? So they usually give us the courtesy of invading a country and starting a war.
Yeah. Well,
if you need to answer that, mate, answer. Well, do you not remember?
No, keep going. It's all right.
Like, they usually give us the courtesy of invading a country before they make something disappear. You know, like stains on a certain woman's dress, or you know, a folder full of client lists. You know, it's been their MO for years. Look at the shiny, distract. Let's go grab some oil. Double whammy. But this time, they have literally rewritten history in front of everyone's faces, John. There was 3 folders that people stood with outside the White House with Trump's name on it. We have Department of Defense individuals who were being quoted as saying, well, Epstein's client list is on my desk and ready for review. This is madness. Well, how are we meant to believe anything?
Well, when Trump got in, and then Elon Musk, you know, getting involved in politics and saying about the GG gangs over here,
yeah,
you know, and Trump saying that he's going to, you know, drain the swamp. He's done nothing of the sort. And if he was going to drain the swamp, he would get nowhere near the front lawn of the White House. It's not going to happen. It's just a sales pitch. No one, and I'm telling you now, is ever going to expose this other than people like us, you know, or the survivors speaking out.
No, it's literally going to take, you know, I often talk about how many of the big famous serial unalivers are caught because they've got a brake light out. A brake light out and a body in the trunk, and the whole case is blown wide open because of dumb luck. At some point, someone's going to leave something on a train, John. Right? Look, one of those folders is going to end up on a train, and that's about the only hope we have.
There were 2 police officers, right, who were the protection officers for Ted Heath. They caught him on numerous occasions with young boys being delivered to the residency part of number 10, and these kids were taken from care homes, and the officers had a dilemma and they discussed it amongst themselves. I had their details and I did try and make contact with them, and they said their discussion with each other was that if we go to our boss, we'll get moved. If we say anything, it's just not going to go anywhere. But they didn't know what to do, but to do nothing wasn't an option. So the next time a little kid got delivered at the unsociable early hours of the morning, right, and one of the officers, he'd think he'd had a bit of a tough childhood, so he recognised the situation and he smelt a PDF file in Ted Heath, right? So they approached Ted Heath personally, right, and said, right, sir, we know what's going on, it stops. Ted Heath then allegedly turned around and went, oh, okay, yeah, I know what you mean, yeah, and it did stop for 2 weeks. And then both officers were pensioned off early, right? So it went on. We had a guy called Mike Veal. I mean, you've got to Google Mike Veal. My word, never has a braver man ever walked, you know, the soil of this country. You know, Mike Veal was the chief constable of Wiltshire. He stood on Sky News and said, you know, that there were dozens and dozens of young kids here that are now adults, who made testimonies that they are RAPE'd by Ted Heath, right? Most are boys, and we have information that Ted Heath was involved in satanic ritual abuse. He said it. Mike Veal can't even get a job at a local news agents now because they've destroyed his life that much, the intelligence services and everything else, right? So anyone who speaks up is gonna get crushed, and I'm living testimony to that. So what we're seeing here is he's got caught out. He's pushed the envelope the wrong way, or whatever's happened. Something has gone wrong, and this guy, look, say Freemasonry, right? They say in Freemasonry, if you reveal the secrets, you'll have your throat slit or your belly cut or whatever it might be. These threats they give, right? People laugh at it. Oh yeah, whatever.
It's your chest cut open and your heart bare to the sun.
Yeah, and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, and they say, oh, it's just, you know, allegorically, and this is all that. But Is it? Is it really? Okay, low level. No, no, of course it's not. It's just a load of men drinking together and thinking they're doing good for society. But when you break it down right to its sinister underbelly, the inception of what it really is, you get guys like this fella here. And he probably has done the wrong thing, said the wrong thing. And he knows that he's going to be, like was said to me, thrown to the wolves, right? So he conveniently hung himself in police custody while the cameras were having their film change, blah, blah, blah. Who did the same thing? Well, and we mentioned it on this show. Fred West, right? Fred West. I've mentioned it more than once on this show. Yeah. Fred West was the Poundland of Epstein Island.
We spoke about how very similar and how the wives always tend to live on in prison.
Yeah.
It's an odd one.
And Fred West was like him. They're procurers. These are people like that. I can't remember the guy's name, but he came to me. He's from the Netherlands and he's a banker. Anyway, they made a documentary about him, and he went very, very high up in the fiscal world, in the merchant banking, right to the very, very top. And he said at the very top, it is satanic, it's ritualistic. They starts off with orgies with adults, it then goes to children, and then there is sacrifices, right? And he openly said it. This is what goes on at the very high echelons of the business world.
Well, look, John, I wanted to show you a few things, right? And from your experience in the police, this is the 11 hours of footage that was released of Epstein's supposed cell door. Right now, we're going to watch this, and then we're going to watch a little bit of another creator called CoffeeZilla explaining the layout of the prison and the angle of the cameras. Okay. But before we do that, John, what does this say to you, right? We're just going to watch the clock here, okay? And something very interesting happens. I think it's at 59. It happens. There we go. You see that?
Yeah, there's a minute. It jumps a minute.
It jumps a minute and it gets reframed.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So 100% something's going on here, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I said to you, and again, people who in the chat who have watched me for a while, I talk a lot about let me cook for a second here, John, right? So I talk a lot about the passive media consumer. So the person that's going to see 11 hours of Epstein footage released and skim past, okay? And in their brain, they now know, oh, the FBI have released the footage that they said they were going to do, right? And they might click on it and they'll see cell doors and they'll assume what they're seeing is Epstein's door. When in actual fact, none of what we're seeing is Epstein's door. And like I say, I'm gonna just play this bit of CoffeeZilla's video. It's about 3 minutes of his video, and he's going to explain the layout. And for those of you who haven't seen this or don't know the layout, it's so crucial to this. So just take a look, John.
Cell. They lay out a structure of the jail cell and the jail itself. And here you can see it's a 2-leveled system. There's a lower tier, there's an upper tier, and Epstein was in the L tier. Okay. Here is where the camera actually was that we're seeing. We're going to go ahead and go through this so you can see that's what it looks like. There's upper floor, lower floor. Epstein was located on the upper floor in what's called the L tier, okay, which is right here. You can see it even better from here. Here's Epstein's cell. Here's the hallway. And right here is the camera, which was not recording. Unlike what Kash Patel sort of insinuates that they're going to release that footage. They don't have that footage. According to them, the recording wasn't working. It was streaming, but not recording. The footage apparently had the DVR system stopped working about 10 days before all of this happened. This is in their own report. That's not me saying that. Around July 29th.
Can I ask you, John, in your experience with police stations and let's say prisons as well, what's the sort of urgency put on when cameras are down for sort of repair time or things like that? I mean, it seems to me.
Well, firstly, I've never known there to be any repair time. And if you look at the repair time, that 1 minute to midnight, I mean, who would be 1 minute to midnight? Who?
No, that wasn't them repairing it. That's just a totally. That was the only camera that was working.
Yeah, 1 minute to midnight. You know, again, if they're going to do anything, surely it'll be during the day when you've got maintenance stuff.
Oh, we're gonna get to that.
I've never known stuff to be down. I mean, look, when I first started, there was no cameras, right? There wasn't any.
Yeah.
So it was basically down to an officer's word. CCTV came.
Good old days, John. Right? The good old days. Am I right, mate? Am I right?
Days.
Am I right?
Fantastic days. Bring them back anytime. You know.
That's the one, right?
Yeah. Well, Scotland had the best system. We had audio taped interviews. Videotaped interviews came in for children, but audio taped interviews. Scotland did not have the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, and you could do a suspect interview in Scotland without audio equipment, and you could write it in pencil.
Yeah, hell yeah. Nothing dodgy about that, John. Move along, mate. Just move along.
The most honest system there is. But so the CCTV came in sort of late 1990s, and then it really got enhanced. So it was usually just in the communal areas, and then they started putting cameras in cells, but not in the toilet. That was blacked out, so you couldn't, you know, they were blacked that out for dignity reasons. But the cells themselves all became cameraed up. Yeah, we just got to look at the chances. What are the chances? What are the chances of the biggest terrorist atrocity in the UK and the cameras being out? There was another one where someone attempted to drive at Parliament and the cameras were out. So the cameras are always being maintained at the time when this goes on. Look, if I was to go to Crown Court and I'm accused of beating up a prisoner, and at the same second I beat up a prisoner, the camera went out. I mean, how many people believe that? None. Right. So why are we expected to believe this absolute nonsense?
Right.
We shouldn't believe it because it's a lie.
John, you know how I like to single out one of your God-loving people every week, right? So there's a guy called Chosen One in the side chat, right? And for whatever reason, he's saying, go check out my content. So I thought, I'll go check out your content. I think you're about to have like a freaking Jesus moment, John.
Go.
Right? Like, I swear to God, I think this guy has filmed a cross lit up in the sky, right?
Oh, okay.
And what, for a start, why is it flying about? That is definitely moving. We can all agree with that.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Wait for it, John. Wait for it. That, I tell you what, regardless of whatever it is, that is mad. But if you look on, like, his little, see that there, John, on his profile picture that I put on the screen.
No.
If you like, where we're chatting, you can see the Chosen One. Try and find out a bigger bit of text by him.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I got
you. See the wee cross?
Yeah.
That's wicked, dude. Honestly, that's wicked. I tell you what.
Times look to the skies, and it look to the skies.
I tell you what, Chosen One, you're actually with good people here for stuff like that. We're not all Jesus crew, but man, that is proper wild, bro. Proper wild. Call it spaceship, call it Jeebus, call it an angel, call it a satellite, whatever. Really epic footage, mate. Really epic. Well done. Really good job. Anyway, John, I was on a roll here, right? So give me a second. So we were watching this bit of footage from freaking what's his name, and now I've lost it. See what happens, John. See what happens when I get sidetracked. Everyone, oh, here we go. Okay. We're finding out about the layout here, John. This is important.
It stopped recording as it was supposed to. Now, here's where you can see what actually was recording the day of. So you can see this is the camera that we have access to. and it's looking this way. So that camera footage we see is not of Epstein's cell at all. You can't see it. Instead, this is the guard station over here.
Okay, you see the guard
and the
station.
staircase is like this little, like 3 pixels right there.
You see that, John? Desk, 3 pixels is a staircase, right? You see that?
Yeah.
Looks like 3 wee knuckles.
So it's an actual joke if you think that this footage somehow had a perfect line of sight of Epstein's jail cell and you couldn't have run an op right, even during the missing 1 minute window, because, oh, we had a perfect line of sight on his door. They don't. And the cameras were not recording. As testified here, like, and it's crazy, the FBI director is spreading misinformation going, oh, I don't know who told you that. You guys told us that. These cameras right here are streaming, but not recording. You can see it right there. There's Epstein's cell.
So streaming would be if John's sitting at a desk, he can see what's going on the screens, but nothing's actually being recorded of what's being said.
I mean, why do people struggle to believe it? Right, I'm going to give an example. There was a woman crashes her car there's an area called Vauxhall Cross in London. It's an amazing area, right? Because all the intelligence buildings are all in this area, but it's got the highest proliferation of gay dungeon clubs at the same time. So nothing to see there. Let's move on. But it's a very weird place, right? So any intelligence service, they've got their headquarters in this little area. A car crashes there, and there's a woman driving the car, and she's drunk, so she gets arrested, right? And on the way back to the police station, she's going, "Oh, I shouldn't really be in London. I'm going to get in trouble." And the guy, he's a friend of mine, looked at this woman, and he's thinking, "I know her. I know this woman," and she calls him Gov. Now, that might not mean anything, but to a copper, that means she's been in prison, right? If they call the police officers Miss and the men Gov, it's usually terminology from the prison. So you know they've had dealings with the law when they say that, right? So he's like, oh, she starts then really panicking as he takes her back to the police station, takes her into the police station, and she gives her name, and there's no trace on the police national computer at all, right? No trace whatsoever. So he decides to take her fingerprints, and she goes into a real panic then. But she said she was on her way to Brixton, which is just around a mile away from Vauxhall, right? So he decides to go down to Brixton police station and look through the index that they used to have. They used to have an old card index, and there'll be local intelligence of any woman that's arrested in that area and charged. They keep a convicted photograph.
Yeah. Okay.
So with men, there's a lot. With women, there's not so many. So it's not going to take him long. So we go through, and he finds her, like the name. It's like, that's her. Totally different name. So he goes back to the cell, opens the little wicket thing, comes down, and he turns around and he calls out the name on the photo card. And she turns around and looks at him, and she says, "I'm in so much trouble now." So he also takes her fingerprints, takes them up to a special department at Scotland Yard that would do quick time fingerprint search. They used to do it manually. They'd have an expert would manually look through it. And it comes back again with this woman, but it's a totally different name to her documents and to the name that she gave, right? So she keeps saying, "You've got to ring this senior officer, you've got to ring him now." And then they realise this woman's probably an informant, right? Right. So she shouldn't be in London. The next thing, the police station gets shut down, special branch descend, and the woman is ghosted out. CCTV seized, everything. She's just gone.
Wow.
Gone. No trace of her.
Yeah, that escalated fast, John. I'm not going to lie.
Right, boom. So my friend said to the special branch guy, "Come on, we deserve an explanation here." And he went, "I'll tell you who she is. Yeah, that's a woman, you know. They shouldn't have kept her card. It should have been eliminated. She's under a new identity." And she was a prostitute, and she got involved with a very, very high level minister in Parliament, very, very well-known parliamentary guy. And it caused a massive, massive scandal, a huge, huge scandal. And it could have brought down quite a few members of Parliament. And this guy's very, very, I won't name him on here because it's not right to do so.
I want to get back to this video as well, John.
But the woman was then gone. She was disappeared and ghosted out. So it happens all the time. All the time.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you, right? But John, like, let me get to the end of this like a minute and a half of this, and then we're going to talk about a series of events, because this happens all the time, but it's never happened this way before, bro. It ain't ever
camera that would have been on him. It's not there.
The bigger picture of it all, which I'll get to.
And yet he goes in front of millions of people.
So this is the camera that we're seeing the footage from. This camera here, okay, which you can see the angle of here, and you can see the staircase and the edge of the door, which covers up us being able to see tells Epstein's cell. Right?
Otherwise, it's so irresponsible.
The cell, and if they had got.
So this is the head of the FBI, Patel, Kash Patel.
Into the cell, you would see it.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that,
but that was in the news.
Yeah, again, it wasn't just.
So what's weird here, John, right, is I interviewed a guy, big shout out to Rob. He's a former FBI agent, and I'd asked him, when was the last time you seen the head of the FBI going on a podcast, going on anything while they still have their career? That's usually what they do, the former this or the former that. It's never happened before, okay? So in the same year, we've got the head of the FBI going on Joe Rogan podcast the same night that the Elon Musk posted about Trump being on the list. We've got the head of the FBI saying that there's no possible way Epstein unalived himself, and that we'll wait to hear about the client list. Now, that is someone from the mainstream entering into new media to change the mind and the thought process of the people who've moved away from the mainstream to get the answers that are real.
Okay, well, let's look at another way, right?
Right. Well, let me finish cooking this, John. Right, because I just want to get to the end of this, and then I'll come back to you. Right, when we've got these individuals, and then we have this footage, we then, John, have another issue in this piece of footage. I believe it's at 38. We're going to get a brief glimpse of some orange. We've got the guy moving here. He comes round. And then round about 38 minutes, you're going to see a little puff of orange. Now, just bear with me. Hang on a second, let me just check my timestamps. 10:38, right? Yeah. I know. I'm just bear with me. You're just going to just let it play, people. I'm sorry. But basically, what you're about to see is a bit of orange jumpsuit, and this is apparently when Epstein was removed from his cell so that he could have a phone call that was to be unmonitored, and then he was returned to his cell. We've got a missing minute. We've got cameras not working. We've got the head of the FBI going on the Joe Rogan podcast to talk about how basically we're all wrong and they're going to prove it. We've had 11 hours of footage released that basically shows absolutely nothing and raises more questions. Here we go. The guard's moving again. Now, originally what they had said was what you're about to see here is the guard coming back with laundry. And that is what the brief glimpse of orange is that's about to be seen, if I've got the right time stamp. 1 second. Apologies, just bear with me. It might be this one. Yeah, I think it's this one. Just bear with me, people. There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay, so you see this like little glimpse of orange, and again here. Okay. Now, this is Epstein being moved, and this is going against everything that we were told previously. It completely goes against what Kash Patel's saying, that there couldn't possibly have been any sort of operation to take him out. I don't get how video cameras can be running in a place where if a guard is attacked, they would need video evidence to help out with the case or claims or whatever. How the hell, John, have we gotten to a point, and you can hit us with a Wedger analogy here, okay? And thank you so much for letting me cook here, John. But how in God's name are we now meant to sit here and watch history being rewritten? Because I can guarantee you the next thing will be that photo was fake and Andrew's innocent. Guaranteed. That's the next thing coming, is the re-establishing of the prince. And I mean, I'm telling you that the monarchy being behind it all just for that reason makes sense to me, because it's, you know, it's not the Queen's monarchy anymore. And those of you who just cringed when I said monarchy, I know, but it's a realness in this. But what do you think, John? I mean, never before.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. If I looked at that,
evidence.
Firstly, okay, the prisoners might be wearing orange, so I'd have to say, well, what is the standard dress for a prisoner? Do they wear an orange jumpsuit?
Oh yeah, 100%. This is all being super fact checked.
What secondly, you can't see who it is, so evidently it's just like a little streak.
No. This is what I've said. Is the official statement of the FBI.
Yeah, that's okay. But then there'll be a thing called a custody log if they run a system similar to UK. So anytime anyone is out, because there'll be comings and goings. People will be out their cell. They could be taken out for a cigarette. They could be taken out to make a phone call. I mean, if their codes of practice are the same as ours, they could be allowed out for a phone call. There might be reasons to keep someone incognito initially, but once that's passed, there's nothing stopping him taking a call. So, but if that tallies up with the custody officer's log, because anything that happens will have to be logged down and recorded. So I'd want to have a look at the log.
What about then, John? What about then when the guy at the forefront of releasing the Epstein client list, Trump and his entire cabinet, agree that it doesn't exist weeks after Elon Musk said that they're not going to release it because Trump is on the list, and now Elon and Trump have fallen out, and Musk is now saying he's going to start a political party and, you know, try and change the world that way. I mean, have we ever seen anything like this? I know the elite.
Yes, we have, because we had someone that would actually be the Queen now if she was still alive. She started saying things about our royal family not being human, being spiritual entities of a negative kind. She was saying it. She then said, "My husband is planning on having me killed." And shortly after she said that, she was, in my opinion, murdered publicly. She died in the most agonizing, appalling way. And then her body was exsanguinated of blood for no apparent reason. There was so many anomalies that went along the line.
Yeah, it's the same as...
have seen it. This woman would now be Queen if that hadn't have happened. She was a person of the people. She was liked, and she was speaking out. So yes, we've seen it. We've seen it.
Well, this is the thing. At least they've done the courtesy of putting it in a tunnel where nobody could see anything. This would be like if they turned around and said, "Oh no, it wasn't in a car crash in a tunnel. Diana fell off a bridge."
But people did do it, and then the lies that came along with it. The officer that was running it said it's a cover up. So it's look at John. Look at John.
100%.
He was speaking out.
Did you ever hear a guy
in the face?
Did you hear about a guy called Isaac Cappy? Possibly not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Now, here's something. Someone just said Elon is on substances, right? So I seen a short today, right? We're going to watch this short because
when you look at Elon Musk, he seems like insane.
You can say what you want about Elon Musk, right? But when you see this short, John, you got to ask yourself, why is it taking a dude to do this? Why is this not what countries and like politicians are doing? Listen to this.
Chaotic from the outside. Why does he have the boring company? That doesn't make any sense. He's drilling all these tunnels underground. Like, why would he do that? Well, if he wants to go to Mars, humans aren't going to live on the surface of Mars. They're going to live underground. So you're going to have to build massive tunnel complexes underground. Well, why does he have a solar company? He's going to have to be pretty good at building power plants, right? So why don't you build large solar fields? Because there's no real estate problems on Mars. So you can build like a 5-mile solar field on Mars if you wanted to. Why does he have all these Tesla bots? You're not going to have 5 million humans show up overnight, but you can ship millions of robots ahead of time and use them as your labor force to help build up everything, and they don't need atmosphere or any of these other things. Why does he have an AI company? Well, you need some sort of intelligence to coordinate and run and terraform the planet. Why does he need a battery powered car company? Because you're not going to be running internal combustion engines. There's no fossil fuels to consume on Mars, so you need battery powered cars to be able to drive them around. It's actually coherent. He probably wrote it all down while high and drunk, and he's like, this makes so much sense.
That's why it's okay for people like Elon Musk to be on substances. Okay, because if it wasn't for people like that, if you telling me you think a man has planned out everything he needs to populate Mars with humans and there was no substances involved? Come on, not even John's buying that. But John, right? We've got Elon Musk, we've got Trump. They've fallen out. We've got this declaration that apparently Trump is on this list. I believe, and I've said it this week, I know you're saying that we've seen this stuff before. Of course we have. But we've never seen it in a way where they've just told us that this is a hand, and now they're telling us it's a foot. Do you see what I mean? We've seen corruption, we've seen assassinations, we've seen cover-ups, but we've never seen a presidential party waving evidence around and then say that it no longer exists. We've got a missing minute of footage. We've got more questions. And now we've got Kash Patel, like I say, trying to mainstream narratives and change public opinion.
We had 114 cases of the most horrific abuse against kids handed, and they were handed to Theresa May, and then they went missing. We had files and files of horrific abuse by sent to our Home Secretary. What was the guy now? Jeffrey Dickens, an MP called Jeffrey Dickens. He sent he sent these files to Leon Britton, and then they went missing, right? And then see how many allegations were made against Leon Britton whilst he was alive, and posthumously as well. So we've seen all of that in this country, and it's always a case of we'll look into this, and then there's nothing to see, now move on.
Right.
We've had it all over. The problem is because people, they have idolatry, and they look at America, they think we have an FBI. If you talk to any of the kids in the inner city and say, how do you call the police? They'll go 911. They think our armed forces that we have Navy SEALs. I talk to these kids all the time. Yeah. Everything's got to be American. 1 second.
You're okay, mate. You're okay. Listen, take a minute, everybody, to just like and subscribe. That would be freaking awesome. If you want to come out and ask a question to the panel, to myself, or to John, come and use the Discord link. I'm posting it right now in the chat for you wonderful people. And come and give us... Oh, wait, no, that's actually the wrong link, but that'll do. It'll do something. It'll get you somewhere. Okay, so... Catherine, I'll be honest with you, this whole Epstein thing feels like a massive panic move. I feel like this is the sort of thing that happens when you back someone into a corner and they're like, oh my God, we need to get rid of this narrative. John, here's a theory for you. I kind of feel like the way that this Epstein list has been removed, the way that Virginia was taken out, the way that Lady Harvey, whatever her name is, went on Piers Morgan and tried to destroy the narrative about the photo of Virginia and the man formerly known as Prince. Does this feel almost a little bit, or could it resemble a panic move? Like there's something going on.
It's damage limitation. So, I mean, how naive of Joe Rogan and his viewers to think that an active member of the FBI would go on there and tell the truth regarding.
Well, no
this
one did. That's the thing,
corrupt.
John. No one did. That's the thing. Everyone seen it for what it was. This is the thing. Like, everyone seen it for what it was. And every time that Kash Patel was trying to say, "Oh, I don't know where you're getting that from, Joe," Joe's pulling up, you know, where somebody from a political party or our news coverage or the Department of Defense has covered it, or it was said in the case. I almost feel like there was something.
We have the same things when we have press conferences and they put out a narrative. They do exactly the same when the BBC does stuff. They put out the official narrative, and it's a blatant lie. But people, you know, but the thing is, what they have to address the issue, so they address it, and it's damage limitation. And what we've got to understand, there's a world of difference between policing issues and issues of national security importance.
Okay, well,
and what's happened with this guy here, and with Trump and everything else, it's stuff that could cause political instability. So therefore, it has a different entity looking at it, and the rules are different. They cannot allow it to go down the path of political instability.
Yeah, okay, so call it damage control then, right? But this feels like poorly managed damage control. This feels like panic time. This feels like we need to get rid of the poster child that brought down the whole case. She's gone. Now we need to get rid of the possibility that what she said was real by eradicating the client list, which means, you know, none of these girls were here to see anyone but Epstein. And that is the same as what we've seen in the Diddy case. Everything that shies away from there being this known secret.
But if you look back to 9/11, and the BBC made that,
they did,
that faux pas about Building 7. Building 7's collapsing. It was still up. It didn't collapse for another 2 minutes. 80% of the American populace do not believe the official narrative in respect to John F. Kennedy's death. And it must be similar when it comes to the narrative of 9/11. When you've got doctors of architecture like Judy Woods, wrote a book about how the towers fell, and she gives empirical evidence, scientific evidence, irrefutable evidence that these buildings cannot possibly crumble and fall in the way they did by being hit by an aeroplane.
Well, do you know what they can when they have thermite detonation? This is look, man. Can I just ask? Does anybody put a 1 in the side chat if you totally believe the government's explanation for 9/11? Put a 2 in the side chat if you do not believe the official government report for 9/11. Do that in the chat.
And also, Lady Diana's death. Who believes that it was a car accident? It was just bad luck.
Nah, no one does. No one does.
No one does. But yet they still maintain that, and then they have the Diana inquiry. And the same thing, and they rolled out the same people. So they've rolled out here. They've rolled out this Patel guy. Well, they rolled out over here. They roll out Michael Mansfield. He gets rolled out. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but he's Patel, or anyone like Patel's never been rolled out. This is the thing, John. We've seen things similar to this, and I totally agree that on paper, the end result, bad guys win through cover-up. We've seen that before. But never so lazily and blatant. At least they try and convince us that we're not complete morons usually. Because this is craziness, John. This is what the whole of Trump's party was built on, and now it no longer exists. I'm just grabbing a bottle of water, John. It's craziness. It's absolute craziness, and I feel like there's something brewing behind the scenes that is connected to the Epstein case, connected to the royals. I don't know whether or not it's going to be an announcement that they're going to try and bring Prince Andrew back in, or if it's got something to do with scary individuals. Because, John, we've got to remember, people like Virginia were just little loose ends to the multi-million-dollar royal families of the world.
But it also goes to show that if you become a risk, you die. It's as simple as that. You're taken out and you die. I mean, you know, a chief constable said to me, anyone who thinks they can take this government and win is an effing idiot. And I would totally concur with that. You get a lot of these social media activists saying, you know, I'm going to take the government on, and the government are worried. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not bothered. You know, you're just a thorn in their side, and you'll be taken out of the picture, whether you get sectioned, you get stitched up. They tried to stitch me up, and I'm sure they would have probably next step tried to section me.